Plenty to unpack this week, from bearish pressure in US and South American grains to EU fund rolls and shifting dollar dynamics. But what did our latest customer survey reveal for US corn and soy? And what could it all mean for Matif wheat? I'm Johanna Bota, and here to help us break it all down is StoneX's VP of Clearing and Execution Sales, Bertrand Oesterle. Great to have you with us, Bertrand. Thanks for taking the time and making us jealous about your lovely background wherever you are. So let's start with the big one. What did our much anticipated customer survey show for US corn and soybeans?
It's been quite a week. We've had mostly bearish news coming out of the US and South America over the past week. We had, as you said, our anticipated customer survey, and it came out with big figures. So, for example, for US corn, our US colleagues surveyed our customers, and they came out with a figure of 16.323 billion bushels with a massive, enormous 188.1 billion bushel per acre. Now, that 188.1 bushel per acre is the figure in focus. It's absolutely huge. And when we compare it to the USDA figure of last month, it's 181. So 188.1 against 181. If you remember last week, I said that some customers were expecting the USDA to potentially put their figures anywhere between 185 and 190. And that's going to put the WASDE report from the 12th of August in focus. That report is going to tell us if we remain around the 181 mark, or if we indeed follow our customer survey and go anywhere in between 185 or 190, or close to that 188.1 from our colleagues. This big figure is at a time when the crop conditions in the US remain very favorable, with 73% good to excellent in corn, and that's above the 5-year average of 65% still. Also, at the same time, the Argentine are still harvesting their corn. It's 88% harvested. And the second corn crop in Brazil is anywhere between 74 and 81% harvested, whether you follow Patria, Agronegocios, or AgRural, for example. And if I switch to soybeans, it's a very similar story. So our customer survey came in at 4.425 billion bushels with 53.6 bushel per acre. Those 53.6 BPAs are very close to the 52.54 that we had mentioned last week in terms of average analyst estimates. And we see that it's well above the 52.5 mark from the USDA last month. And it's again going to put the 12th of August WASDE report in focus. Similarly to corn, it is at a time when the crop conditions in the US remain very good, 69% good to excellent for soybean. That's above the 63% average. And also, when you look at South America, we're starting to get more and more crop estimates for the new crop. We had seen a massive record estimate last week of 179.8 million tons for the 25-26 Brazilian crop. This week, we had CEDARES at 177.2 and StoneX at 178.2. So all this means a lot of output expectation, and it comes at a time also when in parallel we've got China stating that their soybean imports in the short term might be a touch less aggressive because their domestic stocks are high, despite the fact that Bloomberg confirmed that a second cargo of soybean meal from Argentina has been sent to China as a test.
So given all of that, what does it mean for your next Matif then, particularly for wheat with the fund roll now in focus?
So that's been the very interesting bit for us. We've been hammering down for the past few weeks that the bulls were expecting to see the fund roll going their way. And all this US pressure has basically spoiled the party. We've seen Chicago corn making some new contract laws. Those contract laws have spilled over into Chicago wheat, which also made a contract law. And that's also spilled over into Paris milling wheat, with December hitting below 200 and making a 199.50 contract law. So that is the disappointment. But however, the fund roll is definitely taking place. We've seen over the past week some 40,000 lots of open interest in September disappearing. So it's very evident that since the 31st of July, the funds have started to roll. We know that it's going to be the focus all the way to the 15th of August when we've got the option expiry. And when we look at the SEP deck spread in Paris wheat, it is our barometer for the fund roll, and it has rallied to minus 425. So if you remember, I've been talking about it a lot. We were in a minus 13.25 to minus 9.5 range for quite some time. We rallied all the way to minus 750. We're now gone beyond that point. And last week, people were speculating whether we're going to go to -6, -3, flat or positive. We made a high of -425. It's definitely going that way. Now, outside of the US and Europe, we look at a market which is pressured by the US spillover pressure, despite the fact that in Germany, in Poland, we still have excessive rains, which are affecting the crop quality once again, and it's also affecting the logistics to export out of the Baltic states. Elsewhere in the world, the US harvest is still progressing. It's 86% harvested in winter wheat. It's 5% harvested in spring wheat in the US. The Argentine are telling us that their crop is 98.4% planted, so it's almost done. And the Russians are starting to tell us that slowly they're starting to export by getting some central Russian wheat to the ports rather than southern Russia wheat. All this is building pressure, and it is also in the context of a rallying euro-dollar over the past week, which was one of the main elements that was encouraging the bulls last week, but that has faded away. Why? Because we've had a euro-dollar for December that has gone from 115 last week back up to 116.80, and that's mostly on the back of the Fed Governor Kugler resigning and presumably being replaced by Trump by the end of the week. Obviously, he's going to replace this person by somebody who is favorable to him, therefore favorable to a weak dollar policy.
Bertrand, thank you again for all your insight and for taking the time from your lovely holiday to talk to us. Thank you for watching. For more financial content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.